It's not every day we've got like the guy who schedules the grid, Adam Darowski. He's the director of design and product management for Sports Reference.
I love joining things like this where people are getting excited about the grid.
I'm trying to contain my excitement. Welcome to Ordinary Effort, where a bunch of random guys get some random baseball players and try not to biff the grid. I'm Mike here with my buddy Josh. We are working on Immaculate Grid 478. And Josh, we've had some really cool guests on, and that trend is going to continue in this episode.
Yeah, this is an exciting one. I think, when we first started doing grid and then decided to record these episodes, we knew about this guest just by being on Twitter, seeing all the chatter about Immaculate Grid. So sort of been on our radar for a while. Like, it'd be cool to get this person on. So this person is Adam Darowski. He's the director of design and product management for Sports Reference. So his team manages, all the sports references that you frequent if you're researching players or researching stuff for the grid. And they also schedule the grid every single day. So this is a real treat to have Adam on. We're super excited. I guess let's bring him right on. So Adam, thanks for doing this with us.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on. I love joining things like this where people are getting excited about the grid and sharing the grids and how they fill them out. So this is a treat for me. So thanks.
Yeah, it's super exciting. And like, typically we would jump right in on the grid, but it's not every day we've got like the guy who schedules the grid. So I think the first question I've got is just like, what is a day in the life for your team? Like, what does that look like? I'm sure it varies, but curious to hear more about that.
Oh gosh, a day in the life for the team. So I mean, there's about 40 of us now. So there's quite a few of us now. When I started, there was about 15 of us back then, but things have grown a bit. Part of that is thank you to the grid, which has done very well and attracted a lot more people viewing the sites and checking them out every day. I mean, gosh, so there's so many different people. So a day in the life for me is like I'm working on everything from, scheduling grids for like a week out at a time. And we have some internal tools that help us do that, but I'm able to do it pretty quickly. And my favorite thing is that I can actually schedule the grids without actually seeing who the players are. So there's
Mm,
like no spoilers. Our tools just tell me there's this many players, and it tells me if like they're popular enough to make for a good sell.
mm,
Uh, Baseball categories are pretty easy for that though. That's mostly
right.
on like the other sports. Like, we have grids for all the sports we cover. So
Yeah.
I can go do anything from that to, we've got a huge project right now going on that we're like redoing every single table on every single one of our sites
Mm.
from the ground up with a new infrastructure. So there's like a lot of planning around that. So a lot of the day in the life includes that. And we actually have a super cool feature that we're working on related to the grid that's going to be coming out in the coming months that I'm doing some usability testing around and stuff like that, which has been some cool design work. So you'll be
Nice.
able to look out for that soon too.
Nice.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to contain my excitement because like I have so many things I want. Like when you were talking about, oh, are we going to do when we're talking about which grids we might want to do, and you mentioned doing that day's grid the day we ended up recording, which is right now, obviously. I was like, isn't he gonna know? Like, is he gonna know if he's scheduling the grids? Like, he's gonna know what the categories are. But it's cool to know that like you don't have the spoilers. Um,
Yeah, and
that
here's
was
the thing. I totally didn't. I told you that I was going to. Well, you told me that we were going to do
Yeah.
today's grid, and I hadn't even scheduled it yet. But then when I was scheduling the grids, it just got into a routine, and I totally forgot like which day I was doing. So I literally did not know what the grid was going to be. And I love the grids that have a lot of stat categories. And
Yeah.
today we have 5 teams and only one stat category, and it's saves. And saves happens to be, I pulled this up to share with y'all. Like, I have the stats for like the success rate of every category that we have, and saves is the hardest statistical
oh,
category for us. Both 30 saves,
Beautiful.
40
fantastic!
saves, 300 saves, like they're always
Yeah.
among the lowest.
Wow.
Yeah. You know what? That could be a good segue. Like, I'm sure we'll peppering questions for you all night, Adam. But I mean, when we did some of those early grids, we would knock out the category that was most daunting to us first. Often that was Rookie of the Year, Silver Slugger, the early days of grid where that was pretty frequent.
Gold
But I
Glove,
think
Cy
it, it
Young,
it
all that
makes
stuff.
sense to hit that save row if we want to jump in. So, just to call it out, we've got 300 plus saves going up. We've got Seattle Mariners, Kansas City Royals. Across, we've got Red Sox, Reds, Angels. Um, if we want to start with the saves, I don't know, Red Sox, if you want to throw out some guys, I mean, they've got a couple current guys, obviously, with Ken Lee, and then not so distant past Kimbrel. I think both have eclipsed 300, but there's, probably some better options than those.
Yeah,
I mean, the first
I'll
guy that comes
throw.
to, oh, sorry, go ahead, go ahead.
I was going
You
to say
you
I
go.
won't throw the name out yet, but when I looked at this grid, there is a guy who had 300 saves that did pitch for all three of those teams in that
Oh,
row. So
Oh,
that
yeah.
one jumped out at me. He only pitched briefly for, well, I guess briefly for all three of them, but
Mm,
maybe I'll wait and see what names we come up with, and we'll use him if we need to in the hard place.
okay.
oh wow. So the first, I mean, the first one I thought of was like Papelbon. I don't know why I didn't think of Kenley
Yeah.
Jansen or Kimbrel, but like Jonathan Papelbon. Didn't Dennis Eckersley pitch for the Red
Yeah.
Sox for not very long, but at one point he was in Boston, right?
Well, twice he was a starter, and then he came back later as
Right.
a reliever.
Right, right. And by that same token, Smoltz, but I don't think Smoltz has 300 career saves. I feel like he had
I
less because he
Yeah.
was he
I
was a
don't think
closer
so. Yeah.
later in his career. Uh, I mean, so we have some options, but I'm curious. I'm trying to figure out who this guy is that would fit every box, and I'm like
Mm,
I'm not coming up with it.
I mean, if you want me to say him, I can. But one of the names that I thought of first for this square too is just from when I was, I was a New England kid watching the Red Sox. So Jeff Reardon came to mind. He was
mm.
briefly with the Red Sox as well, and he had a ton of saves. I think it was the all-time leader for a little while there.
Oh,
And
wow.
actually, maybe that's a hint. The guy that pitched for all three teams was at one time the all-time save leader as well.
Yeah. I don't have that name because I was
I
thinking
don't.
about Eck too, just because he's like a Boston figure now in the Nesson booth for a while. And God, that's gonna bug me. I mean, I feel like I could think of a lot of guys in the Angels box, but I don't think any of the ones I'm thinking of played for the Red Sox. But it's gonna be this guy, I bet, that I just forgot had a stint with the Red Sox. Yeah, I mean, Reardon, that's not a name like, I'm not a name I'm super familiar with, so I don't mind throwing that down. But Adam, like, you're the guest, first box, we'll leave it to you. Like, yeah,
Feel like the modern guys are going to be higher, so I'm
yeah,
cool with going Reardon.
yeah, let's do it.
Jeff Reardon, Red Sox 300 save career,
Ooh,
5%.
Nice. Okay. All right.
Nice start, and
a little higher than I thought, I think. Yeah.
he's got
Yeah,
the
yeah,
by the way, I love the old Expos like uniforms and the hats.
yeah.
Like I love that he's wearing the Expos hat here.
It's a classic.
Yeah, my favorite
Uh,
trick would be like using him for the Nationals as well, just
Mm,
because the
yeah,
Expos work for the Nationals.
yes.
100%. Should we go across? So Reds 300 saves. I think Chapman eclipsed
Mm.
300 and pitched for the Reds. But obviously more current guys, so that recency is not going to help us with the rarity score.
So
Mike,
I've
Adam.
got a guy, former Met, because of course that's what I do. It's like
I think we have the same guy then.
is it John Franco?
Oh, it's not, but that's a good one. He had a lot of
Oh,
Oh,
saves too.
okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
that
I
does
know.
work.
Yeah. Who's your guy though? There's another
See,
who's
the Reds, I'm so bad with the Reds. For some reason, I feel like they
Yeah.
haven't had a lot of players that I remember. But one thing I do remember is the 1990 Nasty Boys bullpen. And
Mm.
Randy Myers was the closer, and he was
oh
also
Oh,
previously with the
wow.
Mets, and then he was a Reds pitcher, and he did have 300. I think it was like not much above 300, like 306 or 309 or something, but I think he's there.
are you how confident are you about that? Because I know Franco is up there. But I feel like he
I
probably
think
spent most of his time with the Reds and maybe the Mets close in terms of his
Yeah.
tenure and time.
yeah, Franco's over 400, I think.
Yeah.
Myers, I'm like 90% sure he's 300 wins. I think I've used him for this category before, but I don't want to dominate the board too, so we can certainly
No,
go John
no.
Franco.
I mean, Mike, we had Greg Jewett on recently from like Closer Monkey and Writes for the Athletic, and I feel like he gave us this advice. It's like why are we like waffling on a risk? Let's take the risk. Like, I mean, I feel like I'm good with either guy, but I feel like if I had to think about it, I don't think a lot of people are throwing a guy who played pitch for the Reds in the '90s on as much as John Franco. But so I mean,
Let's do it.
All right,
I
let's throw
think let's
Randy
try it. Yeah.
Myers. All right,
Okay.
10%, and he's in the Mets
Yeah,
hat
I'm
too.
surprised about that. All right. Okay.
Wow.
10%. Oof.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Chapman must be like 50.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, it has to
Mm.
be. All right. Angels, 300 saves.
K-Rod's
Um,
obvious, of
K-Rod,
course.
yeah,
yep. K-Rod,
Troy
sticking.
Percival.
that's what I was gonna. I was thinking Percival. I also think Fernando Rodney had a brief
Ooh.
stint with the Angels. I mean, he pitched for so many teams, and I think he pitched for the Angels. Um,
Mm.
That's a pretty good one, yeah.
Did he pitch for I don't remember him on the Angels as much, but I
I
know
mean,
he had like a very, for some reason, he's like, I feel like he's not commonly thought of as one of the better closers, but he had
yeah,
some really good years.
I'm more sure of the 300 saves than the Angels. So if you say he's on the
yeah,
Angels, I think he's a great pick.
So I have another one though. I'm
yeah.
not sure. I feel like he probably reached 300, but Houston
I was
Street.
Yes, I was just going to say him.
Yeah.
I definitely have used him for 300 saves before,
Yeah, that's a
Okay.
great one. I think
but he's
about
more
A's
recent.
with him, but I
Hmm.
don't think about the Angels, but it makes sense. Yeah.
So he was.
Wait, Adam, who's the guy who, I mean, we made it to this box. Like,
Oh
who's the
yeah.
guy who pitched for all three?
He might be a little bit of a sicko score here. It's Lee Smith. He didn't pitch much for the Angels, but
Oh,
I've used him on the Red Sox and
Oh.
Reds. I don't think I've ever used him for the Angels.
the Cubs guy, right? Like also
Yeah,
pitched for the
That's
Cubs.
he
Yeah.
yeah.
pitched for like 10 teams or something, so it's pretty
Okay.
help.
Was it that many? Wow. Okay. I need to brush up on
Mike,
these old
we've
guys.
mentioned Lee before with the Cubs box, I think, but I love using that here. I mean, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it
I'm
was like a half season with the Angels or something too. It wasn't
yeah,
much, so this should be a pretty good one.
all right. Let's
yeah.
go for it. Lee Smith,
Seven
7%.
7%. I
Okay.
mean, maybe this is what happens when you play the grid on record the grid on the same day. Like, we got
Huh.
to do like a reunion tour in a year and see how these scores age.
Right.
Like, I got to think these scores are going down.
True.
But hey, so we got to really get some rare team guys. That's basically what that means.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Well, I got
This I feel more comfortable with the teams in a lot of
yeah,
cases.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Sorry, what were
Adam,
you
where
gonna
do
say?
you want to go next?
I mean, we could I mean, if we want to continue with rows, we could just go up, or if we want to
Yeah,
do, yeah, let's do that. Let's do Red Sox and Mariners if you want. And the first name that comes to mind for me as a Red Sox fan, again, becoming a player, a fan in the late 80s, is Spike Owen,
oh wow.
who was a shortstop on the 86 Mariners. He was among those that Roger Clemens struck out in the 20 strikeout game, but then later that year, he joined the Red Sox.
Mm,
Okay. I like that one. This is a random like, and I think maybe because the grid we recently did with Greg, we did all relievers, and there's a guy that comes to mind. I think he was just traded to the Red Sox this offseason. I think it was for was it Luis Urias maybe? Isaiah Campbell
yeah.
he came up with the Mariners, I want to say in 23, and I'm pretty sure he was traded to Boston this past offseason.
He pitched a little bit for Boston. I didn't know the Mariners connection, but he definitely pitched for Boston this year. I know this because I was sort of following in fantasy, thinking he might have like some save options or something like that. Or,
Same.
um,
Yeah, so
yeah,
that's like the random one, but I do like getting some of the older school names
yeah,
on here too, because I feel like a lot of the stuff is like, what do I know from fantasy currently or
Mm.
most or recently?
Well,
Um,
here's where I tell you a little bit about how I play. Isaiah Campbell's not a name I've ever heard. I have no idea.
yeah.
oh,
Okay,
So,
okay.
so
yeah,
I'm ready to pull Spike Owen, or you're gonna hear a crazy name for this top row here as soon as I look
yeah.
at these
Can't
teams.
wait.
But yeah, I mean this square we should probably mention some of the bigger names. Adrian Beltre
I
is
was gonna
one that
say
Right, right.
Beltray. Yeah. You've also got Oh, the name is on the tip of my tongue.
Olerud
Yeah,
Piper
that's it.
both.
Thank you.
Olerud, yep.
Yeah, Olerud. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good row from Mike Cameron as well. I think he's in
Oh
two of them at
yeah.
least.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good
Yep.
player.
He's
What's
Yeah.
super cool about Mike Cameron is he plays all the time and shares his
Yes,
grids
saw
on
that.
Twitter. Love that.
Yeah.
oh, does he really?
He always
Yeah.
shares. Yeah, he's really cool. I think
Well.
he also like obviously loves to put himself when he can, which is obviously if I could put myself on the grid, it'd be great. Like,
Oh
yeah.
man. Well, now I kind of want to throw Mike Cameron on here.
I'll throw
Yeah.
one more name out there
Yeah,
first,
yeah.
though. When you said relief pitcher, this guy came to mind because one of the best trades the Red Sox ever made, ever, was getting Jason Varitek and Derek Lowe from the Mariners.
Oh,
Now, I believe Lowe did play with the Mariners, so he would count here, I think, but Varitek hadn't made the majors yet. But the
mm.
player that they traded to get the two of them was Heathcliff Slocum. That's his name, Heathcliff Slocum.
I remember the name. I would
Oh,
not have pulled. I may vaguely remember him with the Red Sox, but I wouldn't have pulled him for this box necessarily. Wow. Okay.
yeah.
We
I
love
tell you,
using.
I'm better with Red Sox than I am with
Yeah.
Reds and
Yeah.
Angels and Mariners. So.
I like Spike Owen and I like the Cam. Not even gonna pretend I can pronounce that name.
Heathcliff Slocum.
There you go. Yeah, I've used Derek Lowe before for Yankees, Red Sox, but Mike, I think we got to do Heathcliff.
I think
Yeah.
we got to. Yeah, we
His
got to do
percentage
Heathcliff.
might be high though, because so many Red Sox fans remember that
Mm.
trade is the thing. And we're
Ah.
like Ernie Brolio is the guy that got traded for Lou Brock in like the Cubs
Yeah.
Cardinals trade. So he'll be like super high because people are like,
Oh,
oh, I remember
Mm.
Brock, but I'll do the guy he got
yeah.
traded for. So I
Maybe
mean, but Spike
Spike
Owen's
then. Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
relatively well known too. I'm not opposed to throwing Cameron out there too. Cameron's a cool pick too.
Yeah. Mike, why don't you make this
Don't
call?
make me make this decision. I am the most indecisive person.
I mean,
Oh man. Wait, we said Cameron fits another box here too. Like if we don't throw Cameron here, we can put him where we're.
I think he fits Angels Mariners, right?
Certainly Reds Mariners, but I don't know
Okay,
about
okay.
because he
I'm
was
mixing it
traded for
up maybe.
Griffey. Oh, Griffey's. Oh, this
Oh,
is a Griffey grid. Oh,
This is a
yeah,
okay.
it
Griffey
is.
grid.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right, so why don't we do this? Why don't we? I feel like we should get Mike Cameron, especially if Mike Cameron likes the grid. I think we should throw him on the
Yeah.
grid. But what
Yeah.
if we use him for the middle? And let's on this one, do we want to go Slocum, Spike Owen, Isaiah Campbell?
Spike? I mean, yeah, Adam, I trust your gut. I mean, we try to think about trades a lot. If that's a big one, let's do Spike. Yeah.
All right, let's do Spike Owen. 3%. And
Okay.
another Expos
Another
hat. All
Expos
right.
hat. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Mariners, Reds, we're going with Mike Cameron here. Give him a little shout.
I mean, fellow nasty boy Norm Charlton would work here, but
Oh,
I'm also good with Mike Cameron. The Griffeys, both of them would work here, but they're
Both
going to be
Griffeys.
high.
I feel like it's
Yeah.
cool to see players playing the game. Like I feel like
Yeah,
I
let's go
appreciate on like
Griffey.
foul territory when Kratzy and stuff play. So I think
Mm,
like Mike Cameron makes sense. Let's give him a shout here. Like
another former Met.
yeah, Mike
4%. All
Cameron.
right.
Oh,
Nice.
that's not as high as I thought. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
thought it would be a lot higher, yeah.
Yeah, I just saw something
Uh
on Instagram the other day. I found this account that like showed highlights of random old clips, and it was the game where the Mariners hit like Brett Boone and Cameron hit two back-to-back home runs in the first inning. Like I just saw this like 2 days ago, so
mm,
uh, like getting him on there, and I'm glad he's
yeah.
not that high of a percentage. All right, do we want to
Mariners
finish out?
Angels, yeah. There's a guy
Yeah.
that comes to mind. As soon as I saw this grid, I was like, it doesn't have to be the guy we use, but Mike Ford, first baseman for the Yankees, I think just left to go play in Japan
Hmm.
because as great as the Yankees had been for so long, I feel like after Tino and then the stint where Teixeira was healthy, they've cycled through a lot of first basemen. I think like Mike Ford was the guy they thought was going to be like something after Greg Bird was going to be something. And I'm a Yankees fan, so like I followed Mike Ford's like heater at some point that year. So that's an option, but there's obviously others.
I mean, Sean Figgins is like one of
Yeah.
the. I think we've talked about him on another grid before, and that was like the Angels, Mariners, like the more obvious guy
Mm.
from at least recent history. But I like Ford
I mean,
better than Figgins. Adam, do you have any others here?
I got a couple here. I mean, it's going to be higher because he's a mega star, but this is probably the two teams that Ricky Henderson might be least well associated
Mm,
with. But I like to use Mark Langston with like Mariners, but he always ends
Mm,
up with a high score. You Mark McLemore is one that I always like too because he's good because he played like every position but pitcher and
mm.
catcher, so you can use him with those
Oh
position
yeah.
cells. And he did play with the Mariners and Angels, but I don't know if he would be lower than Ford. I don't know. I'm gonna defer to you guys here.
mm.
Ford's a guy just like didn't really cut through to have like a long major league career, but bounced around to a good amount of teams. And I know he played for these two.
Yeah, I'm good.
Shigetoshi Hasagawa is another that would fit here,
mm,
but I
Oh
think he
wow.
he might be a little higher though.
yeah.
Did Bob Boone play? No. Oh, Bob Boone would be top right though.
Hmm.
Uh,
I'm feel I don't want to make the decision, but I feel like Mike Ford is like farther from top of mind than most of these other guys that we've said. And I feel like he might
Yeah.
be, not that we're like, I mean, I think he might be lower than a bunch of the other ones at least.
think you're right. Macklemore, I think, is probably more popular on the grid
Close.
than he should be because of the positions.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm biased because I thought about Mike Ford as a Yankee, but I'm
No,
good
that's
with give it a give him a try. Yeah.
Right. I don't know
yeah.
him at either of these teams. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's do Mike Ford. 1%. All
look at
1% in a
right.
that. Look at
Reds
that.
And
hat
in a
too.
Reds hat.
Yeah.
So,
Should have been
All
okay.
trusting you
right.
this whole time.
Yeah. Adam, that brings up like a good point. We've shared a little bit about, I feel like we keep talking about the categories we like love a little more than we do. Like, what's that like when is the scheduling at this point purely random, or do you try to like, does your team try to get, match up with like historical moments or anything like that? Like, how does that all work?
It's very rare that like I'll do a specific grid on a specific day.
Okay.
But I have done it before. Like for the anniversary of Roberto Clemente's death,
Yeah.
we used the Born in Puerto Rico and
Mm,
Pirates and Gold Glove and all types of categories associated with him. We've done some Negro Leagues themed ones as well on specific days. For actually, we did it every Friday of February as well,
mm,
and have kept doing some since then as well. But yeah, for the most part, I wouldn't say it's random. I do have a tool that recommends a grid just based on like
okay.
categories that haven't been used in a while or
Oh, wow.
matchups that haven't been used. But I do a lot of like, oh, that's cool, but I don't know if I want to use outfield there. Maybe I'll
Yeah.
use 2,000 hits or something. So it's certainly not like automated. There's curation that goes to it, but I have tools to help.
Yeah. Do you have like, I mean, I'm just curious, as someone who clearly like, I think it's cool that you obviously like are a fan of it too. Like, I feel like a lot of times in these roles, sometimes, it can be done by someone who doesn't maybe fully appreciate the end user too. I'm curious, like, if you could craft your favorite grid to play, like, what's that include?
Oh man, it's probably got like Negro Leagues, All Star, Hall of Fame down one side, and then
Okay.
it's got some categories that like Negro League players can reach because I just love using like that's where you get your .00003s and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Because I'll pull out like Totelo Vargas and players like that, and then so you'll have like 300 average season, and then we do have like for situations like that, like a 10 home run and 10 wins. So it's a nice
Yeah.
low bar because not that it's a low bar, but they had shorter
Shorter
official season
seasons.
lengths. Yeah.
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 Nice. Love that. Yeah. I think we go back and forth about whether we like the stack categories or sometimes we're just like in the mood for an all team grid too. So
Mm.
there's the
Mhm.
shameless plug to get some of those on. We love when we see an all team grid.
Would you
So
believe that when we do all team grids, the number of games played plummets?
really,
Really?
Yeah. Like it's to the
wow.
point that it's actually bad for business to use an
Oh
all team
Oh my
wow.
grid.
gosh. Wow. All
There,
right.
Uh,
there was a
it's kind
point
of
in our
shocking.
there was a point in our we had like a group chat going for a while. It's a little less active now, but like whenever there would be an all team grid, we were like, everybody go to the grid today. It's all
Sound the
teams. Like,
alarm. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Um,
Wow, that's funny.
That's the reason
Um,
there's never been an all Aroldis, no, not Aroldis. Who's the an all oh my gosh, the guy who has played for 14 teams.
Rich
Edwin
Hill,
Jackson.
Edwin
Yeah, an all Edwin
Jackson.
Jackson, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I will say though, my
Um,
favorite player to play in the grid and the player I've used the most by far is Julio Franco. So I was a little bummed
Mm.
that he doesn't work in this grid, but another
mm,
guy that I use a lot that is completely not well known to send us back into the game. He works for two of these cells in the
all
top
right.
row. And the player that I want to use here, do you either of you know the name Calvin Pickering?
I do
Oh,
not.
He is
okay.
this massive 275-pound first baseman born in the US Virgin Islands who mashed for years in the minors. And he had brief stints with the Red Sox, the Reds, the Royals, and Baltimore. So
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Wow.
almost a complete set here. But if I was going to use Calvin Pickering, I'd probably use him top middle because I love
Yeah.
using him with the Reds because I'm so bad at the Reds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think the only other name I can think of there is like Reggie Sanders or something.
Okay. I thought of when took a peek at this before, I thought of Joe Randa, I think
Oh yeah,
was
okay.
played third for both of them. And Johnny Cueto fits here too.
Oh gosh, yes.
But I feel like that's way more obvious. Pickering,
Yeah.
the name vaguely rings a bell, but again, I couldn't have told you anything about him. Um, I like using him here. Josh, you cool with that
Yeah.
too?
I'm taking a mental note because the Midwest teams escape me sometimes, and I gotta pocket these guys to just use. But yeah, I'm definitely in on Calvin Pickering. So
All right,
Let's go
um,
0.2 here. What do we got?
yeah,
What do we
let's get
got?
a
so
good one. Yeah.
Calvin Pickering, Royals, Reds,
Okay, there we go.
0.04, and our
Let's
first
go.
first hidden gem of the grid.
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right, so we've got
Adam,
two.
I was like, we needed to make sure we got a hidden gem with you. Like, we call anything under 1% a hidden gem, and it would have broke my heart if we didn't get one with you. So, shout out to Calvin. Yeah,
There we
yeah,
go. And this left cell, I can think of like 10 names off the top of my head, but
Mm.
I don't know if any of them are hidden gems. I mean, there's
yeah,
like I don't know, David Cohn, Bill
yeah.
Buckner, um, Orlando Cepeda, who recently passed away. He played for both of these teams, like
Okay,
the last very couple end of the season, end of his career. I mean, Brett
Also,
Saberhagen.
yeah, I was gonna say
That's right,
Saberhagen.
Saberhagen.
Got Jackie Bradley Jr. though. I think
Yep.
we've used him a ton actually. Like, I just
Well,
like
also
him a
Ben
lot.
Intendi. Then
Ben
he
Ben
would
Inten
work
right,
with
Ben
Intendi, right?
Intendi, and Johnny Damon too
Yeah,
Johnny
started with the
Johnny
Damon.
Royals. So
Damon.
yeah,
Yeah.
but all those guys had like longer tenures with the Red Sox.
Here's one. And shout out the 1988 Tops podcast who covered this player not that long ago. He played over a decade as a catcher for the Royals, but then went to the Red Sox in the mid 90s. Mike McFarland
Hmm.
Wow.
a name.
Yeah, that's a name for sure. I gotta check out that podcast too. 1988 Tops podcast. That's awesome. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm good with that. We've named a bunch of guys, but I don't think any of them are as rare as Mike McFarland.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, anytime we can get like an older, more obscure catcher on here, I feel like that's
Yeah.
always a good one. I was thinking back to like the '04 Red Sox, and like Doug Mientkiewicz was a Met. I think he
Mm.
was on that Red Sox team, and he played a year or two maybe for the Royals. Um,
Also got Michael Waka, just remembered.
oh yeah, that's right,
But
Waka.
again, like current player, I feel like.
Hmm. There's one more guy, although I don't think it's better than McFarland. But for some reason, I remember seeing. I don't know if it was from the ALCS celebration or the World Series celebration, but I remember seeing a picture of like the Red Sox celebrating on the field, and the back of one of the jerseys. I don't know why this stood out to me, but Curtis Liskanek, the
Oh
relief
yeah.
pitcher.
Mm.
I know he pitched in Colorado. I know he pitched for the Red Sox from that picture, and I'm pretty sure he spent a little bit of time in Kansas City.
Stanek. Okay.
That is the
Mm.
only other one that I would say maybe like if I was to toss up between two, but I wouldn't have pulled McFarland at all. So
All right,
I'm good with either of those, but I'll let you guys kind of make the call here.
Another is Jose Offerman, but I don't think he would
Yeah.
compete with McFarlane or Leskanic. If you're sure about the Royals, we can go with Leskanic because I'm not positive about the Royals. Definitely sure about the Red Sox though.
I'm it I'm pretty sure he was with Kansas City. It's one of those things where like it might be a little bit more of a risk, but I'm pretty sure he
Mm.
did play with the Royals.
What do we got to lose?
That's true. What do we have to
An
lose?
immaculate grid is all like uh
Yeah.
uh
Mike, this one, you hate this, but it's got to be up to you. I mean, you've got the guy,
oh,
you
don't
kind of
do
have
this.
a foggy
It's a
memory, but
catcher and a relief pitcher. These are like our two go-tos.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. Do you mind if I throw Leskanic on here just
There we
because?
go. Yeah.
Let's do it.
And I apologize if this is wrong.
There you
0.2%.
go.
Okay.
There
There
you
we
go.
go. Another hidden gem. Kurt Laskanik. There we
All
go.
right. So
Okay.
we could finish with a triple play if we get another hidden gem here because we have all these fun names for things. Royals, Angels.
I did already
Yeah.
throw Bob Boone out there as one that
True.
would work there. He played for both in the junk wax era, so very much picture him in those uniforms.
Mm.
You also have Hunter Renfro works
Oh
here,
yeah. Does.
um,
Yeah.
but he's currently on the Royals.
It,
Does Martin Maldonado work here? For some reason, I think he played for. I know he just got released by the White Sox, but I'm pretty sure he spent time in L.A.
I love that we're pulling from completely different sets of players because I'm like Bo Jackson, Wally
Oh
Yeah.
Joyner.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wally Joyner. I don't. Yeah, he'd probably be too high too, though.
Good
Hmm.
shout though. I'm blanking on this one. I can't even help with current guys. I mean, Renfro's the one for sure, but I think that's gonna be pretty high.
Oh, Greinke
Um,
here. Greinke works here
Oh,
too,
oh,
but
Greinke.
yep, you're right.
He'll probably be the number one though.
yeah.
Did one of the Weaver brothers, Jeff
Oh,
Weaver, pitched for the Angels? I don't know if he pitched for the Royals. He might have worked for the Mariners Angels box actually.
yeah,
He
we
pitched for
might
the.
have had one Weaver with each of these teams, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. I think he pitched for the Cardinals. Yeah, now I'm confusing the two.
You know what? We've probably used every Boone except for Bob on the grid so far, so I don't mind throwing Bob Boone out there. I know we've put Brett, we've tried to put Aaron.
Oh,
Hmm.
in retrospect, I think Brett fits in the middle, but we went Cameron. I
He
have no
does, he
regrets there.
Hmm.
does. Yeah, yeah. Mike, what do you think? I mean, I'm good with Bob Boone, but
Is
yeah,
there like some sort of, I don't know.
Horn.
I feel like Bob Boone's not going to be all that low, but
super low.
I
Yeah.
don't know if we have a better one yet.
Mm,
First, I mean, again, like Maldonado, I'm
right.
trying to picture him in Kansas City, and if I had to guess, I would say that I think he works here, but I'm like very, very much
Mm,
on the fence, and I would hate to biff the last box.
Oh, Kevin Apier.
Ooh,
I think I'm definitely Royals, but
hmm.
I'm like 80% on the Angels, so maybe that's not high enough.
yeah.
Okay, so my thought is if I'm right about Maldonado, I'm pretty confident that he's going to be pretty low.
Okay. Bob Boone is probably going to be maybe two or three. I don't think he'll be that high, but
Yeah, I still think I mean, Adam, you may have some of this, but I always make this assumption that some young guys play and younger current players get used more often. So I'm thinking Bob can't be like that high, but
back when it was in like its peak hype days, it was definitely trending more on the modern players. But now
yeah, you've had a lot of pulls. Yeah.
the people who still play it every day religiously is a we've got the junk wax era covered pretty
Okay.
well. So
Yeah. I've got nothing to offer here because I can't even throw out a player. So I mean, you know what? I'm gonna make a call. Adam, you like started us off. Why don't you decide who we put in the last
That's
box?
not
I mean,
making a call. That's kicking it over to
let
him.
me
I'm going to
delegate
decide
this
to let
out.
somebody else
I'm
decide.
gonna give Adam the permission to close us out, is what I'm gonna do.
I mean, Bob Boone's definitely going to be lower than Wally Joyner, right? He'll
For
definitely
sure.
be lower
Yeah.
than Bo Jackson, but yeah. So I mean, I'm not positive about Martin Maldonado or Kevin Napier, so I think the pick I would make is Bob Boone.
All right, let's do
Yeah.
Bob Boone to close it out.
3%. I think I got a glimpse
3%.
of that. Okay.
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 All right.
Final score of 33, which is a Maddox.
Yes.
I
Very
liked that term,
respectable.
by the way, the Maddox. I hadn't heard that before, and that was very cool.
You know, it's funny when we were like first talking about what this would even be. I was like, well, what if we had like, we were talking about like what could we call things? Like, could we make up terms for stuff? And I was like, okay, so like Maddox threw a lot of complete games under 100 pitches. I was like, what if we did just like called it the
Yeah.
Maddox? Like, so that kind of
Yeah.
stuck. But yeah, so this is a Maddox. We got 33 here, two hidden gems.
We've got
Feel pretty good.
22-ish% locked up in that save row. So I mean,
That's true.
you kind of previewed it, Adam, that this was gonna be a hard one, but I am pretty surprised. Some of these guys we pulled, I thought would be a bit more obscure. Yeah.
Yeah, if we check the summary there again, I wonder what the top picks are in that row.
Papelbon, Chapman, and K-Rod.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay, yeah.
if nothing else, I'm glad that we didn't go with like those, like the most obvious guys. Like,
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
comfortable with the fact that we got a couple, lower scores on those boxes because I think it would have been easy to go Papelbon, even John Franco, obviously K-Rod or Percival probably would have been high too. So I'm glad we got, you know, lower scores there than we probably could have.
Yeah. Well, this has been a blast. Adam, again, so grateful for you to come on and help support the show too. To folks listening, watching, like check out Adam on Twitter. We'll drop the handle in the show description and on screen if you're watching. And of course, like just keep playing Grid. This was just really cool to have you on, Adam.
Really fun to play the grid today. I stayed away from it all day so that I could join with you guys and really yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thanks.
What is the handle again? So we can actually like for
Oh
people
yeah,
who are
And
just listening.
on Twitter is baseball twit, a
nice.
wonderful name I picked, like 15 years ago or something that I probably wish I picked something else, but it's what I'll go with now. So, but yeah, first and foremost, keep playing Immaculate Grid. I love seeing people's grids. I love everybody that plays contributes to the stats. Maybe have a new feature coming out soon related to grid stats, so look out for that.
Awesome.
Ordinary Effort on Instagram and TikTok. You can find our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other major platforms. Again, Adam, this was great. Really excited that you came on with us. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks for tuning in.